Good chat. We back at it again with another vid, man. As you can see, I got a little surprise for y'all, man. This is a double drop in one day. You know, I have to come back with a double drop since I didn't drop back to back days. So hopefully I'm gonna try to get back consistent with it. And yeah. But today we got when a cannibal killer spots his next meal. His next meal is insane, bro. Bro, that's nothing I've never understood, bro. Like, how can you be a cannibal? Eating humans, like eating your own kind. Like what goes through your head to even make you want to think to try a human? But it's crazy, man. Let's get into it.
And she never fought. She never did. And next thing you know, she's dead. And I'm like, huh, well, this is great. And I guess, I don't know, I got scared or nervous or I don't know. It was juicy. It didn't taste like blood, though. I mean, it tasted like a cardboard piece of steak.
It was juicy.
It didn't taste like blood, though.
It didn't taste like blood, though.
I mean,
it tasted like a charbroiled piece of steak. I ain't even heard of that word before. A piece of steak. What's wrong with this dude, bro? I hope he got 59 life sentences under the jail. Because that's just outrageous.
It tasted like a cardboard piece of steak.
You really wasn't sure why she was dead? Why didn't you call somebody to come up there and check on her?
Because something else is in control.
When detectives in Coffee County, Tennessee were called out to a remote property late one summer evening to respond to a peculiar claim, they had no idea what they would soon uncover would reveal a horrific and gruesome crime.
Oh, no.
In a chilling turn of events, detectives were left to puzzle out not only if someone had committed the crime, but if they'd resorted to cannibalism following a bizarre accident.
Oh my God.
Or if, in fact, the stomach-churning act had been the fulfillment of a fantasy and an
Bro, imagine you cops on that case and you gotta figure out if the killer was a cannibal, bro. A cannibal. I'd be like, nah, give me the next case, bro. Give me the next case, bro.
Unhealthy obsession with serial killers.
That just, oh my God.
On the evening of June 8th, 2014, Jason Walker was walking across the yard of his rural Tennessee home when he heard a voice call his name from somewhere in the yard. Jason turned, slightly impatient. It was 6:30 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon, and he was eager to get on with his preparations for the upcoming week. Looking to the adjacent yard, he saw his 37-year-old neighbor, Gregory Scott Hale, standing at the fence and motioning for him to come closer. Look at his hairline.
Oh my gosh.
Jason sighs inwardly but approaches the short chain-link fence separating them anyway, having no idea that the conversation he was about to have would be one of the most horrifying of his life.
What was it about?
"Where's your backhoe?" Scott says by way of greeting. Jason replies that it isn't there, and he won't have it back for a few days. Scott appears somewhat irritated by Jason's response, prompting him to ask why Scott is suddenly so interested in his backhoe. Scott, in response, makes a tasteless and gruesome joke about needing it to hide the evidence. Jason, nonplussed, stares at him in silence, prompting Scott to continue by pointing to the two 5-gallon buckets sitting just a few feet away, near Scott's burn pit. He explains that he tried burning everything in the burn pit, but it hadn't worked, so he figures he should just bury it all as fast as possible. Jason listens to this reasoning for the use of his backhoe before growing tired of his weird neighbor's stupid joke, and abruptly telling Scott he needs to go and that he'll talk to him later. 3 hours later at 9:30 p.m., Sheriff's Corporal Brad Roberts is sitting at the front desk of the Coffee County Sheriff's Department when a man approaches, tense and anxious to speak with someone immediately. Corporal Roberts tells him to come back first thing tomorrow morning, but the man is insistent. It's Jason Walker, and he needs the police to listen to the joke his neighbor has just told him, because the longer he's thought about it, the less it started feeling like a joke. At first, the corporal is skeptical as it sounds ridiculous. Violent crime is almost unheard of in tiny Coffee County. But Jason is so adamant, so sure, that the deputy starts getting a sick feeling as well. He radios for 2 more officers, Deputy Rainey and criminal investigator Dendy, to accompany Jason back to his home to check out the story. Upon arriving at Jason's property, investigators made sure to come in through the back, driving without headlights so as not to alert anyone in the Scott household. Jason and the two officers walked through the darkness, shining their flashlights through the chain-link fence to illuminate the two 5-gallon buckets, their bright white plastic almost glowing in the dim light. C.I. Dendy picks up a garden hoe lying in Jason's grass and uses it to reach over the fence and snag the handle of the closest bucket, lifting it over to their side. Grasping the lid, he peels it off to reveal the ghastly contents, causing all three men to reel back in horror. It's a woman's severed head.
Oh my gosh.
3 days earlier, on July 6th, CCTV footage at Oak Liquor shows a woman entering the store at around 3:30.
Bro, look at that dude.
Striding in confidently and heading to the back of the store before...
You already know he a menace. You already know he a menace. Look at this dude. He got a receding hairline and a bald spot. And what type of cut is this? Dog, you should already know he a menace. What you doing if you knew in New York at 2 a.m. and you walking down a dark alley and you see him run up on you? Man.
Stopping and looking around hesitantly. This is Lisa Marie Hyder, and unbeknownst to everyone in the store, this is her last day alive.
Ah, man.
She scans the back shelves, curling her long auburn ponytail around her fingers and adjusting her large black sunglasses before walking up to the man who has just passed her in the aisle.
Yo, he narrating this mug like a book. Like, he talk about her narrow auburn hair. Like, bro.
From here, she's only traveled up from where she lives in Dunlap,
Crazy
Tennessee
wordplay.
to spend time with her ex-husband and 2 young children, the youngest of which is only a year old. Just before entering the store, Lisa had been on the phone with her ex-husband, trying to get a ride from where she was to the house, but he was unloading a truck in Huntsville and couldn't get to her until he was finished. Lisa was stuck where she was, and she needed a ride, which is why police suspect she approached the man in the liquor store. As for why she chose the liquor store, according to her ex-husband, Lisa had been allegedly struggling recently with alcoholism, which is why they'd split up a few months earlier.
Dang.
Though she had struggled with a dependency to alcohol before.
Dang, that's just, oh my gosh, bro. That's just unlucky, bro. Because how, out of all days for your ex-husband not to be able to pick you up, out of all days for this to happen, this serial killer cannibalism dude would be there. And you would, out of everybody in the store, you would ask him. Well, I don't think there's nobody else in the store. But still, bro. Oh my gosh. That's sad, bro.
Recent devastating piece of news had kicked her problems into overdrive. Lisa had been diagnosed with ovarian cancer and had only been given 6 months to live. Lisa was reportedly beyond devastated by the news, drinking to cope and apparently end her life faster, spiraling emotionally and behaving more recklessly than she usually did. As she's talking to both the man and the cashier, she adjusts her sunglasses and, for a brief moment, a black right eye.
Hold on.
And apparently end her life faster.
Be careful what you wish for. Because God makes wishes come true, good and the bad. Because let me give y'all a short story time. Remember the story talking about me hurting my knee? Yeah. Back when I was young and like, maybe like 4 or 5 years old. You know, I grew up in the church and everything. But you know, back then you don't know if God real and stuff. So you still question and stuff. Because you like, how is it real if you don't see nothing? But now you older and you understand. But you know, you ain't know back then. So one day I was playing my wrestling, man. And I just thought, I was like, is he even real? So I said, God, if you're real, hurt my left knee. And it didn't happen immediately. But showing up later on in my life, my knee did end up getting hurt. And I had knee problems to this day. So be careful what you wish for. Because God is definitely real.
Spiraling emotionally and behaving more recklessly than she usually did. As she's talking to both the man and the cashier, she adjusts her sunglasses and for a brief moment, a black right eye is visible. How she received this particular injury is still unknown, but it would pale in comparison to the injuries she would receive later that night. Because the man she's speaking to and will eventually exit the liquor store with is Gregory Scott Hale. Back in Jason's yard, C.I. Dendy and Deputy Rainey are radioing for backup, ordering for crime scene units to be deployed immediately and for search warrants to be written. As backup arrives, they head into the Scott residence to place Gregory Scott Hale under arrest, finding him sleeping on a couch in one of the filthy garages. Given what they've just discovered in the white buckets, the detectives were no doubt disturbed by the items Scott has decided to use to decorate this space.
Oh my gosh.
These items were later discovered to be old Halloween props from a haunted attraction Scott had worked the previous year. Scott makes no attempt to resist, and when initially confronted, admits to being the one who killed the woman and had placed her limbs and head in the 2 buckets, and had buried the rest of her in the burn pit nearby. Police take him in, and the following audio is the never-before-heard interview from that night. It has been analyzed by a licensed professional counselor.
Scott, you were talking to James out there at your house a minute ago, and he advised you of your rights, okay? I'm Chad Parton. I don't know if you remember me or not. I worked with your mom up here for many, many years.
Chad Parton working with Scott's mother would almost certainly imply she'd worked as a member of law enforcement. But while Scott's mother, father, and son all being mere feet away asleep in the house while Scott committed this murder, none of their statements or information have ever been released.
Anyway, I'm going to go over your rights again this time since we're up here in the office, okay? If you decide to answer any questions now without a lawyer present, you still have the right to stop answering at any time. You also have the right to stop answering at any time until you talk with a lawyer, okay? This isn't a mission, and it's just that we advised you of your rights, okay? It's right there, Scott.
Unless it's over.
Well, I know you was getting into some details there, but you kind of skipped ahead pretty good bit. How'd you meet this girl?
She came up to me at the liquor store and said, can I go home with you?
Here in town?
Yeah, at Oak.
What day was this?
Friday.
Is this the girl that you brought in to the house? I mean, your mom and dad saw her? Okay.
The home detectives are referring to would be that of Scott's mother and father, as 37-year-old Scott had lost his job sometime prior and moved himself and his 14-year-old son into his parents' house.
Right.
According to a narcissistic narrative spun by Scott, which he repeatedly mentions and embellishes throughout the interview, Lisa had apparently immediately found him so attractive that day.
That's how you know he lying. Look at him, bro. Look at him. How you put your shades behind your ears? And your shades is above your hairline. How was that even possible? Just let it go at that point. And you got a ball.
She immediately begged him to take her to his home and had decided she wanted to live with him in his mom's house.
Oh, really? She just thought you looked that good that she wanted to live with you. Oh, really? That's
before
I
they had
believe you,
even
buddy.
left the liquor store. Then, once reaching the house and sitting in the grimy garage where Scott kept all of his Halloween decorations, she apparently couldn't keep her clothes on, and Scott had to repeatedly ask her to put her shirt back on because his parents might return from picking up his son at any minute. Considering Lisa was only in Manchester that day to meet with her children, whom, according to those who knew her, she adored more than life itself, it seems far more likely she simply asked Scott for a ride, and the rest of this story is a fabrication, though it's likely we'll never know for sure.
Made what I was drinking on, and she got her a pint of 100 proof vodka, and you can come hang out with me. And then she got in her head that she could just move in, and Mom ain't gonna let that happen, We did have, it was consensual, and she wanted to be choked, and us being drunk, and
Was this Friday night?
That was not consensual, bro.
I'm
already knowing.
And I guess I strangled her, and
Where was y'all at when this happened?
in my garage.
Was you using a rope or?
Hands in a shirt. The shirt's in the garbage can in the garage.
At this point in the interview, Scott once again begins boasting about how into him Lisa was, describing in explicit detail how much she wanted him, how turned on she was by his tattoos, not once mentioning his thoughts or feelings concerning her. It's unclear why Scott is so desperate to convince the detectives that Lisa was interested in him that he's making up unconvincing details. He may be trying to make sure he isn't on the hook for assault, or it's just the narcissistic side of his personality coming through. Either way, detectives just keep trying their best to keep him on track.
So show me how you done that? You just...
And then I got off, I guess. She didn't. She's like, keep choking me. And I kept on. I put a shirt around her neck and tightened it up. And, she's supposed to have, when it was, and she never fought. She never did. And next thing you know, she's dead. And I'm like, well, this is great. And I guess, I don't know, I got scared or nervous or I don't know.
Scott's account of strangulation is interesting because, according to the autopsy, the soft tissue of the neck above the fourth cervical vertebrae are examined. No soft tissue hemorrhage is seen. The hyoid bone and thyroid cartilage are intact. No contusions of the neck are seen.
So
While the autopsy does conclusively rule that Lisa's death was caused by homicidal violence, no single cause is listed. There were no drugs other than alcohol in her system, and her lungs showed no evidence of smoke inhalation. So exactly how Scott ended her life or why he would feel the need to lie about the exact manner of her death is unknown.
What happened after that, Scott? I mean, you realized that she had passed. Did you try to give her CPR or anything?
You must have suffocated her or something.
Or anything?
No, I don't know how to do CPR.
Okay.
I smacked her on the face a few times and...
No response.
I opened up her eyes and...
Because how did they not find the cause? He must have suffocated her or something, because that means if they didn't find the cause, that means there was no marks on her body or nothing like that. How did she... What? That's... He must have suffocated her or something, but... Yeah, he had to have, because if it wasn't nothing wrong with her, like, the bones in her throat or nothing, he had to have suffocated her. That's the only... He had to have.
Her eyes were not all the way shut.
Yeah.
I pulled up her eyelid and covered, and then moved it.
Unless
her pupil didn't
Wait,
dilate
no,
or move.
because it wasn't nothing in her system, but...
wanting to go into a psychiatric hospital because I've already been having urges, and they've just been getting greater and greater, and I don't know if it's what, but I guess before I could get to one. So I've been watching a lot of serial killer stuff. I don't know if that was getting in my head. I've been having some crazy things happening at the house, like as far as unexplainable, supernatural.
See, that's why I do not watch, like I watch scary movies, I watch horror movies, like I love horror movies, but when it gets to the demonic stuff, like no. Like I did not watch the new Exorcist, cause my mama always said, she said her grandma used to say that you keep on watching movies like that, you go open a portal to somewhere. And that saying has forever scared me. And I believe it too now. I believe it now that I got older and I could understand like what she meant by that. I believe it now because no, bro. That's why I watch horror movies, but when they get on that demonic timeline, like the Conjurings, no, I don't mess with those either. Like the farthest I'll go is Insidious. That's it. But any other demonic movie, I'm not, no.
Natural.
I want no demons
whatever.
attached to me.
I suffer from sleep paralysis. Not sleep apnea, but paralysis. I'll come to, I'm completely paralyzed and I can't move.
Despite Scott's best efforts to make himself seem troubled or possibly insane, what he's describing isn't a disorder, as it happens to people fairly regularly.
Exactly.
But you're conscious.
Yeah, and
see. Look at that. And I do not claim any negative energy on this video, as always. And God is good, as always.
Last time it happened, the time before, because I looked it up on the internet and I found out a lot of people that's claimed to be abducted by aliens suffer from it. I've also looked up, it was a demon. And anybody who knows my reputation knows I'm into the dark stuff. Ever this
See?
last time, not this last time, time before it happened, I come to, I mean, it was a deep paralysis.
This dude messing around might have been an actual demon walking this earth because
and I
the
could
way that
hear
he
something
talking.
above me breathing, and something slid my fan. The way I was laying on the bed, something slid my fan all the way over, like where I look over.
Or nah, he was messing with them. He was into the demonic stuff and stuff like that, and something got attached to him.
Fan stayed running.
That's why you got to stay away.
That cord's barely long enough to plug in where it was.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since then, I've had a headache constant. It's been about 2.5 months, and a beeping sound for about 2 weeks. I had an episode, give or take, a week ago, and the beeping sound's back in my head. And it's just ever since then, it's just my thoughts ain't been right.
Yeah.
How long have you been out of rehab?
This question posed
But
by
he had
Detective Cheryl
rehab?
seemingly comes out of nowhere and isn't mentioned at any point in the interview before or after now. Since both of the detectives seem to know Scott from before this crime, it might just be prior knowledge.
I left it. I didn't even stay 24 hours because
How long ago has it been when you went though?
about 2 Februarys ago.
You ain't used any meth in the past couple of months? Or nothing like
He was
that?
on meth. He was on meth. Okay.
No pills?
We get it now. We get it now. We get it now.
Maybe a week ago.
But still, though, all that stuff I said is true, though.
Drinking, smoking weed. I like to do Percocets, Nitros, but
Okay.
I don't take those to get high on them. I've abused my
I
body
get it
so
now.
much, I hurt.
So once you realize that and she's there and you're like, okay, how long did you sit and think or?
Did you call anybody, tell your parents? Or?
Mm-mm.
So what happened from there?
I covered her up with a blanket on my love seat. You know, I'm pondering what to do, which I should have just called y'all. But another part of me was wanting, you know, it was like, you done went this far, you know. And that's when I pulled her off the love seat and I put her underneath the boat. Kind of threw some stuff on top of her, so in case Mom or Dad walked out there and looked to see if she was there, you know, because, you know, I walked in and told Mom, I was like, well, she's gone. She got mad because I wouldn't stand up to you and about her staying here, and she just took off walking. I waited till they went to sleep, and I guess I just let my twisted side take over. I do have personality issues.
It's unknown what Scott's official diagnoses are, but given his potential parasitic lifestyle and the seeming lack of emotion here, it would be tempting to guess that he has a form of antisocial personality disorder. However, without knowing his full history, it's hard to be certain.
But them personality disorders ain't no joke.
Boat, and I gazed on her for a minute. I laid down beside her and was just touching.
Mm-hmm. Was she still warm?
She was starting to lose it, and I forgot what the word is when the blood settles.
Rigor.
No, that's stiffening.
Pulling.
Yeah. And there's already, you know,
splotch. Listen to him talk about this. He talking about it like it's normal. He definitely has something. He had some type of disorder because that's insane.
And she was starting to get a little rigor mortis, but not too bad. Her arms, you know, they still kind of, when I drug her out, because I grabbed her by her ankles, and her arms still kind of, but her legs was a little stiff. In my head, I was thinking maybe she's just faking. There's still a part of me that was hoping.
Maybe she just passed out or something?
Yeah. There's another knife in the garage. It's about this long. Gray blade. Got a machete handle.
Oh my gosh, the voice crack is crazy.
And
I'm sick, guys. Remember that.
Remember that. For 6 years, so I know where to go to, you know, any deer hunter or anybody like that that's skinned, you know, you know how to feel the joints. And
this is an interesting justification he tries to make several times throughout the interview, trying to downplay his actions as a totally normal thing any deer hunter or slaughterhouse employee would be able to do, as though there are many people in these fields that would even think of doing something this horrendous. In reality, very few people, regardless of their profession or skill in butchering animals, would even know where to begin when faced with the task of applying their skills to the body of a fellow human being.
Exactly.
That was taking too long, but I did. I started with her head. I cut her head off first.
Did you put any plastic or anything down, or you just done it right there on the floor?
No, that floor was covered with blood.
Did you move the carpet out of there? Like there's green carpet or?
And there's some blue carpet in there. I was going to pull it up, and my knife wasn't sharp enough.
The pocket knife I got off it.
To do what I was wanting to do quickly. So I got the axe, cut off her hands, or at least I busted the bone with the axe, and then I used the knife and I cut off her feet.
Bear in mind that up to this
Talking
point,
like he-
Scott
like
has
it's just
maintained that he
normal.
had a woman die in his home accidentally, and panicking went about disposing of the body in the quickest way he knew how. This next part, however, reveals the true depth of his depravity, and is one of the most sickening and disgusting confessions we've ever heard.
And I was going to eat some of her, so I kind of cut off some of her, rump and part of her back strap.
Backstrap is a term used by hunters to describe the long strip of muscle that runs parallel to the animal's spine, and is a particularly prized cut of meat in big game for being the most tender and flavorful, because it isn't a muscle often used by four-legged animals. Because human beings are not four-legged game animals and therefore cannot be split into similar cuts of meat, there's no telling what muscles Scott actually tried hacking out of Lisa's body. But just the fact he thought of doing this at all and goes on to use these terms to describe her body shows how little regard
That's
he holds
sickening,
for
bro.
her and the
Sickening.
life he took. Detectives are understandably thrown by this.
So did you cut her backstrap out?
Part of it.
Part of it. Did you keep any of it?
It's all in those buckets.
This is interesting because, according to the autopsy, only the lower arms, legs, hands, feet, and head were present in the buckets when collected by police.
So was there more buckets?
No backstrap was found, though again, what exactly Scott is referring to is unknown.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But his words flow too smoothly here compared to his other lies, so it seems that regardless of what he managed to actually do, he viewed Lisa as little more than an animal to be slaughtered. He went out of his way to cut out what he thought would be the tastiest portions of her.
The body's underneath the fire pit.
What about the legs? Are they in the buckets or in the fire pit?
Both.
You got a refrigerator or anything up there in your garage? Any piece of anything in there?
No. Now I flipped her over, and I cut up her belly, and reached up and cut her heart out.
What'd you do with it?
I slung it.
Was it out in the yard somewhere?
Did you sling it straight from the garage or to the left?
No, it was like- Like where those buckets are, and there's a fence.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of just, because
Just
Mom was coming out, and
yeah.
So you just sort of slung it across the driveway?
she kept saying, because Mom and Dad was noticing them talking about, what's Clyde keep smelling, what's Clyde keep smelling.
Clyde seems to be the family dog, though this isn't.
Yo, he took her heart out and threw it across the sidewalk. Oh my gosh, this is like, I don't know why I've heard like a whole lot of sick cases, but this one is just sickening, bro. Like I've never heard of something like, oh my gosh.
confirmed.
Like this one is
was
actually
99.
making me
And this was today.
like my
and I
stomach
went and
hurt,
built
bro.
a fire, and I tried to burn her remains, and I was going to bury the heads, or the head, and the other body parts.
So the pieces that you cut, the back strap and whatnot, you went ahead and burnt them, or are they in a bucket too?
They're in the bucket.
They're in the buckets. But you never did fry any of her up or cook any of her or nothing, or did you ever eat any of it?
Yeah.
You did. What part did you eat
Piece of meat off the leg that while she was in the fire.
while it was cooking? How big a piece do you think it was? Just, okay. About the size of an egg.
Yeah.
Was it cooked up pretty good, or was it still semi-raw?
It was juicy. It didn't taste like blood, though. But it tasted like a charbroiled piece of steak.
Similarly to how Scott was trying to convince the detectives of Lisa's burning passion for him, he also seems to be trying to convince them that what he did wasn't despicable or utterly insane, because she just tasted like steak.
Like that's
Oh, yeah,
insane
she
to
did.
say.
Before you
You're
cut her
talking about a
up, or any time
human.
during you cut her up, did you drink any of her blood, or did you have with her again?
No.
Okay.
I was
So
ready to
basically
say.
what you done, you just got busy of trying to dispose of her. Did you take any other organs out? Just the heart? Okay.
If you really wasn't sure why she was dead, why didn't you call somebody to come up there and check on her?
Because something else is in control.
So in a way, you wanted her to be dead?
I don't know what was going on in my head.
It's curious that Scott keeps mentioning how he wasn't in control of his actions while at the same time providing excruciating detail on exactly what those actions were, and at times, exactly why he did them.
That part.
It's possible that he may be trying to set up a half-hearted attempt at an insanity defense throughout the interview, but isn't really sure how to go about it.
Has she made you mad or anything at night?
Not really. She just irritated me a little bit.
It's clear that detectives are trying to find some possible motive for this murder and the horrific acts that swiftly followed, as it seems unlikely that it was simply an accident. As it turns out, the next part may reveal a bit of what Scott's true motivation might be.
I know me and you talked about this last time, but I talked to you after Tales. I can't remember if you was telling me that you was reading books about serial killers or if it was the movies you was telling me about. Wasn't you reading some books at one time?
I was just studying about them, just watching like biographies.
What's your favorite movie to watch as far as serial killers?
No, I was doing the biographies, the real stories, and I'd look up on the internet.
Like Jeffrey Dahmer or...
Yeah, my favorite one is Richard Ramirez.
Yo, that dude, the Night Stalker, that dude was crazy. I don't know if y'all know about Richard Ramirez. I don't like a lot of serial killers. That's crazy to say, but I study serial killers because, you know, if I come across one, I want to know if I come across one because I'm trying to stay away from them. But Richard Ramirez, he was called the Night Stalker because he would hop through people's windows at night. Because that was back in the day, back in the 1980s, if I'm not mistaken. 1980s, it was in Cali. He would hop through people's windows at night and suffocate them mainly. And then one day, the police called him. They chased him down the street and got him. But he was on the run for a while.
Night Stalker.
Richard Ramirez, a.k.a. the Night Stalker, was an American serial killer who terrorized the Southern California region in the mid-'80s, killing at least 13 people and assaulting countless others. According to some articles on this case, Scott reportedly wrote on his Facebook page on the day of Ramirez's death, R.I.P. Night Stalker. Wish I could have met you.
Okay, bro.
However, this couldn't be verified.
Okay, bro. Okay.
Night Stalker's right. John Wayne Gacy or...
I've read about Gacy. I mean, I got on bad serial killer kick
a few
years back. And that's all I put on my Facebook was just videos, like, because I don't listen to exactly what you call mainstream music. And, you know, I find videos of serial killers and, you know, by different bands where they're playing and, you know, this video footage of different killers. And I told her, I was like, I'm wanting to check into a psychiatric hospital. I'm just thinking about it too much.
This admission is very interesting, as it could suggest that Scott had in fact fantasized about committing the same types of depraved acts as the serial killers he had an admittedly unhealthy obsession with, which may explain why he was so quick to start destroying Lisa's body so soon after her supposedly accidental demise. Detectives seem to start thinking along the same lines, as their next few questions focus on the ideas presented by the idea Scott may have been acting out serial killer fantasies.
I guess things went sour before I could get to one. Moccasin Ben always kicks me out. I'll be there a day or 2 or 3.
You're fine, go home.
Yeah.
Is this the only person that you ever hurt like that?
Yes.
You ever tried doing anything else? Dogs, cats?
Mm-hmm. I'm an animal lover.
I thought you had a dog up there at one time.
Yeah. I mean, I worked in a slaughterhouse, but...
Where'd you work out, Champions?
I worked there on and off for 6 years.
For Charlie and them out there?
Mm-hmm. We had a bad falling out.
So, when you were having with her and she wanted you to start choking her out, what was your thoughts? What was going through your head then? Were you thinking, this is my opportunity, I'm just going to choke her out and live out one of my fantasies, or...
Pretty much.
Opportunity was a knocking, wasn't it?
Yeah. You know what's up? We was going to go to a different damn liquor store, too. And we was right there about to pull in. She goes, what? She goes, you can't go to Oak, can you? You owe that woman money. I was like, no, I paid her off. So she just went all the way to Oak Liquor instead of stopping at Westmead.
Maybe it was fate. Who knows?
This last statement seems to be Detective Parton taking a weak stab at one of the principles of the Reed technique, perhaps presenting an alternative theory to get Scott to admit to more details because the alternative makes the crime sound not that bad. It's at this point that the interview deviates from Lisa's cold-blooded murder and takes a rambling turn into Scott's personal life, starting with the other failed relationships with women he's had in the past and the misdemeanor charge for possession of drug paraphernalia that was still pending at the time of the murder, none of which, of course, were ever his fault. It's interesting to note that he blames the paraphernalia charge entirely on the woman he was seeing at the time, saying,
Yeah, it's misdemeanor paraphernalia, and me and this girl hooked up on a blind date. She was from Winchester. I couldn't get her to leave. Somebody called the police or something and said that I was dealing drugs and all this, and I ain't no drug dealer. You know, I'm a user.
This seems to be a running theme in Scott's life.
Right.
That he never does anything wrong, the bad things that happen to him are never his fault, and that he's so irresistible to crazy women, they all immediately want to live with him.
Facts, because
the detectives offer no comment on this,
just
instead trying to steer Scott back to the matter of Lisa.
My bad,
and while Scott does answer their questions, it's now only between stories about himself, random details on his life, or any random thought that seems to cross his mind.
Serial killers and stuff like that. Was you thinking about keeping any of the body parts at all?
It crossed my mind. And I thought about keeping her skull because, you know, I'm all the time messing with masks and Halloween decorations, stuff like that. And I was like, you know.
For those of you keeping track, Scott has now referred to the victim as a slaughtered animal and is now comparing her to a Halloween. Scott is now
like that. And I'm messing with masks and keeping her skull because, you know, I'm all the time messing with masks and Halloween decorations, stuff like that. And I was like, you know.
For those of you keeping track, Scott has now referred to the victim as a slaughtered animal and is now comparing her to a Halloween decoration, further indicating how little regard he had for Lisa Hyder's life. Eventually, the exhausted detectives wrap up the nearly 3-hour interview by reading Scott's overwrought confession back to him, and he signs it. Gregory Scott Hale pleaded guilty to first-degree murder on January 15, 2015, and though on the surface this may seem as though he was finally taking responsibility for his actions, in recent years he claims he was charged and sentenced unjustly on the grounds of religious persecution, the religion in question implied to be Satanism. However, there's no concrete religion in question implied to be on the grounds of religious persecution, the religion in question implied to be Satanism. However, there's no concrete evidence that Gregory Scott Hale was a practicing theistic or atheistic Satanist, or were there any signs of satanic literature, paraphernalia, or religious symbolism found anywhere near the crime scene, aside from a crudely rendered Leviathan cross scribbled on a sheet of notebook paper on a dusty desk. Some point to one Leviathan cross as a sign that Scott was a practicing Satanist.
Bro, look at this. Look at this.
However, on this same desk, in a place of equal prominence, there was a Star Trek fan collective Borg DVD. But few have pointed to this as evidence that he worshipped the Borg Queen. Scott never mentioned Satanism or any other alternative belief systems in his interview.
Bro, looks scary.
While a handful of the news articles written after his arrest briefly bring up Satanism as a possible motive.
Look at this. Look at this.
It appears they're basing the assumption that Scott worshipped the devil on his love of metal music, the album covers of which adorn his Facebook page, and dark comedy. Scott also goes on to complain that all of the articles only include the bad things about him, allegedly writing, "Y'all only put up the bad. I've been told by a couple of people who really know me and who wrote positive things about me, or said positive things, and for some reason that never gets published. But people who don't really know me that speaks only diluted BS that is secondhand BS, and bad about me. Y'all want to smear that all over the paper." Regardless, the family of Lisa Marie Hyder can rest assured that the man who brutally murdered and dismembered this young mother of 6 will rot in prison for the rest of his life.
Good, bro, good, because that's just crazy. This is a crazy video, man. I didn't expect none of this. Guys, good. We don't claim any energy from these videos, as always. Now, I gotta watch something funny after this one because this is crazy. But hey, man, we're gonna try something new in this outro. I hope you enjoyed this video, man. And you better be there for the next one, or else you're gonna see me in a dark alley at 2 a.m. in New York. And you're gonna have to throw up them hands.